Toronto's a unique place because over the course of history, just to give you a sense of who I am, I'm an Oklahoma Turtle Clan. The word you might know is Mohawk, Iroquois, French calls Iroquois, English calls Mohawk. In my language, we're known as a Haudenosaunee, and within the Haudenosaunee, I'm an Ongahonwe. Within the Ongahonwe, I'm a Turtle Clan. And so this place that we call Toronto actually has a name in my language called Dakaranto. And what that meant was a meeting place on the water where the trees stuck out. And so it's interesting that Toronto comes from that name. And so back in the day, this was because of its connection. It used to be a portage route up the Humber River all the way up into Lake Simcoe and then out to Georgian Bay. So this was a huge trading place back in the day. So back in the day, the Haudenosaunee people, you would know them as Iroquois, the Huron-Wendat, and the Mississaugas, you'd also know them as the Anishinaabe maybe, all used this area to trade. They all meet and use the different watersheds of what we now know as the Humber River, Mimico Creek, all those different areas. They're all separate little watersheds, and so those with territorial boundaries. So if you jump ahead to where we are today, generally this is recognized as Mississaugas of the New Credit communities, First Nations, traditional territory. So we always say, welcome to the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of New Credit, but recognize that it's also guided by this old long-standing treaty called a dish with one spoon. So if you had a dish, so if we took your plate, right, and we just put one spoon with it, and we all had to share it with that one spoon, we'd all take care to make sure there was enough for everyone. That's the essence of that old treaty called a dish with one spoon. So that's how we treated this area. And so we gather here today, formally recognizing the Mississaugas of the New Credit. Let's just go around and tell me where your roots are. Where your roots are. Just tell me where your roots are, where you think your roots are.
Mine are from Europe and Transylvania, which used to belong to Hungary, so it's a Hungarian culture there. Okay. But it's in Romania, yeah.
Okay.
My roots are in the Philippines, but my parents were born here and I was born here, so this is where I'm from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forgive my ignorance, but I'm gonna go ahead and say my roots are from Sicily.
Okay.
So my parents were both born and raised. Their parents were both born and raised.
Okay.
Where I was raised, but I was born here.
Okay.
My father he was born in Mexico, but he's from England, and my mom is Mexican.
Okay.
I'm from Armenia, so I'm 100% Armenian.
I'm still finding my roots, but I guess my background is Trinidadian and Jamaican, but I don't know where my roots are in Africa.
So born and raised in Toronto?
No, I was I was born in Edmonton, but I was half raised here and half in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
Yeah.
What a girl, huh? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Well, yeah, for me is I was born in Iran, came here when I was young, and then the situation of the parents is Iranian, but I think we definitely have roots in Armenia because we have Armenian last name. So it's a situation up to interpretation, but Iranian, Canadian, world nation situation.
Okay, thank you.
I am Armenian from Turkey, and my roots are from Anatolia, but I was born in Canada. I lived in Istanbul. I'm Armenian.
Plus all the other stuff, right? Yeah.
He's my brother, so I'm also born and raised in Turkey, full Armenian, and my roots also go back to Anatolian region in Turkey.
Okay.
I'm Armenian as well, and we're from Yerevan, so from Armenia, raised in Toronto.
Okay.
My ancestors are Anatolian Greeks and Hungarians, so I guess that would make me half Greek, half Hungarian.
Okay.
And my mom's South African, my dad's from Jamaica, and I was born here.
Okay.
My father is Guyanese, my mother is Jamaican background, but she was born in Canada. I was born in Toronto.
I was born in Toronto, but my parents are from Peru, so Canadian Peruvian.
Okay.
I'm from Detroit, and that's about
As far as it goes. Thank you.
I'm African.
Born and raised Toronto though?
I was born in Nairobi, Kenya.
Ah. Okay.
Well, it's a bit of a long story. One side of the family is 12 generations in Canada. Then I'm a third generation Canadian. Then I'm a Irish potato famine family. Then there's a whole bunch of other people, and especially the women, nobody knows who they are, where they came from. So I'm just here.
Okay.
I'm third generation in Canada, and I guess my roots are from around China.
Okay. I'm glad none of you responded. My roots are Canadian. Because I have no freaking idea what that is. To be honest, I don't know what Canadian is. My people don't come from any other land but this one. I do not consider myself Canadian. I'm Ongohongwe, who happens to live in Canada. My people have a Canadian problem. Okay? So I'm pleased that you responded as much as you knew. And part of the struggle in a genocidal context is to know your original story, rather than living the one that's been plastered all over you. Canadian, American, whatever it is, right? To know where you come from, to know where your roots are. As an Ongohongwe person, I guess part of it is that I'm blessed to be amongst all of you. We are many nations sitting in this room. We can sit together and talk and have dialogue and hear each other and converse about our differences, share in our similarities, right? Rather than saying, you all have to get out now, or only you can come in now, right? Genocide is about raping a people, tearing them down to nothing, and then rebuilding them however the dominant society, whoever that is, sees fit. Okay? How many of you, in reference to your parents, and when they come to Canada, how many of you could say that your parents or your aunties and uncles or your grandpas and grandmothers came to Canada to seek refuge, to find safety, to find a better life?
Yes.
Yes? Anybody know? Okay. I'm happy for that. I really am. But for that to occur, there was a long time ago, in 1492, with this lost soul named Christopher Columbus, who happened to find his way here, or actually Boston area, and using the doctrine of discovery, said there's nobody here, so it becomes ours. Canada is not, in fact, a legal entity. It is a notion. Okay? There are a multitude of nations from east to west and everything in between, north to south and everything in between. Or should I say north to south and everything in between. From an Indigenous point of view, what I'm going to suggest to you is that you're all Indigenous from somewhere. You're all Indigenous from somewhere. Most of you gave me a sense of where that somewhere is, right? My challenge to you is to discover that. Read out your story. Read out your creation. So that makes sense for you, rather than the one you're being sold. And that doesn't matter to me if you're Islamic, if you're Christian, whatever that is. I'm none of those things, but I'm connected to Earth, connected to Mother. All my teachings, we are a maternalistic society, my community. We are smart men. We know women know better, right? And we learn quickly, right? Because without the women, we have nothing. They are life givers. They are providers. And without them, we have nothing.
Amen.
Hallelujah, right? What genocide will have you say is men are the most important. Paternalism is the way to rule. Man versus nature is the way to go. Right? Think for a moment that as really an insignificant species, humans, can we survive without Earth? Can Earth survive without us? Absolutely. Why is it in all of our stories and religions that everything becomes complete when man's created? Why is that? Why is everything in reference to man? Right? Where's that feminine energy? Where's that feminine, divine feminine power? It's taken out and replaced by. Right? So thank goodness, I'm not sure for what reasons, that I still have connection to those teachings amongst my women and my people in my community. We're taught as young people that when we speak as leaders in the community, we speak on behalf of, not for. So the difference is that is they tell us what we can say. The women appoint us as leaders in our communities. They tell us what we can say. We have the responsibility to act with integrity, to speak in trust on that behalf. If we go too far out saying what we think we need to say, no, young man, come back. No, come back. You didn't hear us well. Now go do it again. Right? Genocide would have us learn that no, you tell her what to do. She needs to obey you, my young son. That's it bullshit. Right? So when we talk about genocide, we talk about the attempt. And I'm going to say attempt because thankfully, I can say my people are still here. You know, we're a little tattered and rugged and, you know, we're trying to figure our way back through colonization. But there are some families that went underground who didn't get put in jail, who didn't get swiped by child welfare agencies, who didn't have to go to residential school to manage to keep shit intact. Thank goodness for that. Because there's a whole swath of my community that educating the Indian out of them was the primary goal. You can read back to the Indian Act, creation of the Indian Act. It says straight up, the Indians have got to be changed. We didn't get the right to vote until the late 60s. Back in the day, you guys know what reservations are? Can you tell me what you think they are? Just shut it up.
Land that is reserved for Indigenous people.
Okay. Anybody else? So land's reserved for Indians. Completely correct. Do you guys know what that means and what that implies? No?
That you weren't here first.
No need to help you out or help support the land or help support the people.
Okay.
I think it also implies that the other land doesn't belong to you because they're appointing this plot of land to exclusively be where you are to reside, which is wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, segregation, separation from everyone else. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can possess land.
Okay. When you say we, who's we?
Everyone.
Okay.
That an individual can possess a specific something.
Okay. Anybody else? You guys are all on the ball. It's a lot of those things, but it goes much deeper than that. So, at the core of nationhood is what? What do you have to have before you can have a nation?
Beliefs.
What?
Beliefs.
Take it one step before that. That's a tool.
Dominance?
Using what?
Force?
To get what?
Material.
Which comes from?
The earth.
Land.
The land. You need
Land. You need land. So if you have a people who are intrinsically, inherently connected to land, what do you need to do to get them out of the way?
Separate, take their land.
And put them where?
Reserve.
Lands reserved for Indians.
Hmm.
The only way you build wealth in a capitalist society is through land ownership. Right? Be simple is the way to go. If you rent stuff, you don't own it. You just pay somebody else who owns it. Right? But the other way to get it is you impoverize a community. So you hear this term, you know, everybody lives tax-free and all this other stuff, right? As long as you're on reserve, it's possible. But if you live off reserve and our status, very few things. When we work off reserve, we pay taxes like all of you. When we own property in the city, we pay land taxes like all of you, right? But when we live on reserve, lands held in trust for Indians. And trust means the Crown still owns the land. Indian reserves are federal land. So, let's turn this around a little bit. You guys want to become a reserve? You guys want to play with me and become a reserve?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So each of you have $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many millions do we have? I don't know. How many we got here? Okay. So, we're now going to put you someplace reserved for you. Because why? I need exact access to your property. Access to your land. Access to your free will. Because I'm going to take it away. I'm going to take it away. Right? So, what I'd like all of you to do is to come up here and sit in these chairs. Come. Sit in those chairs. Or in that space up there somewhere. Come on. Come on.
Everyone?
Come on. So, in this space is where you get to live. These are not all your relatives. All your relatives. I'm going to give you a number. And I'm going to register you. I might even give you a name. And make you a status Indian. If you want to come out of there and come over here, you have to get my permission. And I can say no. And if you choose to leave, I can send the police after you. And bring you back or put you in jail. Now what I get to tell you is this. You have to speak a language you don't know. A language you don't know. So all of you, gotta start speaking Cree. No English allowed. None. It's all gonna be Cree. I'm gonna sign contracts with you, and it's gonna be written in Cree. You're not allowed to have legal advice, because that's against the law. My law. But you're gonna contract with me. Your land. Otherwise known as a treaty. I interpret that treaty and apply it to you. You agree to share with me access to the lands because that's your way. We're an inclusive community. But I'm going to tell you that doesn't work for me. Because I want to decide what happens on your land. I'm going to tell you how many generations from now your granddaughters and grandsons aren't going to get to be status. That's not in your control. And the houses you all live in on the reserve, they're not yours. Because the property on which you're located are not fee simple lands. All you have is a certificate of possession. That the only person you can trade it with is people sitting in this circle. You can't sell it to anybody else. You know what? You can't mortgage it either because you don't own the land. How are you going to build a business? I can't give you any money because I got no collateral. Speaking as a bank. Because you don't own the land. You have trees. I interpret them. You have reserves, which I placed you in. I tell you how to live. The only law-making abilities you have is to say what happens to the dogs running around the rest. Adoption laws aren't yours to make. The care and kindness for your children are up to me. I'm going to adopt them out and send them to white families. I'm going to adopt them out and send them to cities. And they're going to lose their status. You know what? Gentlemen, I'll make it sweet for you. You can be status Indian, and you marry a white woman, you can make her status too. My Indigenous ladies, you marry a white man, you're going to lose your status. And when you lose your status, you got to go. All this happens on lands reserved for Indians. In this country we call Canada. Till this freaking day. Still going on. Still happening. So the difficulty, and so I'm gracious because you're all amazing people. You can play with me, right? You join in what I'm saying to you, right? But when your ancestors came to seek refuge, my people got displaced, right? And we're really good people because we still say, come and join us, let's share. All we want is to participate in a better way. We're sick of losing out. That's really all it comes down to, right? So, the Indian Act is still alive and well. Canada 150 is coming up, and I think it's 150 years of colonization and stealing. I'm not sure what to celebrate when 150 comes along. I don't know how to celebrate that. I cannot celebrate the attempted death of my people. I can't do it. So when I say to you, as an Indigenous person from this land, I have a Canada problem. That's my Canada problem. My rights as an Ongwahami person, as status to six, my home community is Six Nations. How many of you have been to Six Nations? You know where Six Nations is? It's southwest of here, in between Hamilton and Brantford. It's one of the largest land-based reserves in Canada. And it's not really that big. And the thing is when I place you here, the reason I placed you, asked you to come up here as opposed to over there, is because all the food and the drinks over here, all the good stuff's over here. I want all this for me. I don't want you guys having access to all these resources. Right? These minerals, this water, I want it all. Agricultural land, that's all for me. You guys get rock, you get swamp. You get placed way out where nobody else wants to be. Because what I'm doing with the reserve system is I'm getting you out of my way. Putting you in places where I can impoverize you, right? Make you poor. My people were historically not poor. We were wealthy. Wealthy of mind, wealthy of body, wealthy of spirit, and wealthy of emotion. We are economically strong. We traded across, we call it international trade, not international trade. International trade, right? So that's why I challenged you earlier, and I'm glad none of you said I'm Canadian, because I was like, well, what is that? When you start talking about where your aunties, your uncles, your mom, your grandpas all come from, I'm not saying you have to go back there, I'm not saying you have to get out, but understand your roots. Understand your identity. Because just being Canadian, I don't know what that is. It's kind of like buying into the genocide in a kind of a way. We become homogenized. Our diversity slips away. Then to me it's kind of cheap, right? So, I'm not going to go on and on because I could go on for hours, but I want to thank you. I just want to give you an idea of what the reserve system is about, right? And why I say this land, before there was a single skyscraper, before there was Fort York and everything else that built up around it, there was international trade happening here. Long before Europeans, long before white settlers come over, all those things. All that stuff, that commerce, that dialogue, diplomacy, within families, within nations, was all happening. And so, you know, when you're walking down the street and you see that Indigenous person begging, it's kind of symbolic in so many freaking ways, right? It's forced. It's imposed. It's a net result of Canada's cultural genocide. So I'll leave that with you, but I'm going to end up on a positive note and say we're still here. We are in various communities fighting back in our own way. I was raised with this notion that you don't negotiate sovereignty. You can never negotiate sovereignty. You have to exercise it. Because if you negotiate sovereignty, you're not negotiating anything. You're waiting for somebody else to tell you what you can do and what you can't do. You have to exercise it. Beyond just asserting and say, yeah, I'm gonna do it. So we're starting to do that. We're kicking their asses in courts, finally. We now get to have lawyers. We got some upper middle class Indians doing well too, you know, not just selling cigarettes and shit like that. But we got people running companies and all kinds of things, you know. Doesn't always make the great news. We always hear all the communities being moved because of the floods, suicides, opioid deaths, the fentanyl impacts. Like we hear all that stuff. But there's a whole bunch of other really cool shit happening too, you know. And it's coming. And so when we start talking about this resurgence, one of the biggest things that we're trying to do is bring the language back. Because everything comes through the language. The language is about relationships. The language and the words used in when we speak Ongohome describes the nature of a relationship, an interaction on the nature of a relationship with every single thing and every single being, right? And so when we talk about keeping who we are, we need to recognize our place amongst all of our relations. And I don't mean just the two-legged human ones. Plant life, water, air, ground, the slippery ones, the many-legged ones, the winged ones, stars, winds, rains, thunder beings. Those are all our relations, right? Primary to her. And so we have this thing when we open up a gathering like this, we have a thing called a Thanksgiving address. And it starts under the ground, and it acknowledges all creation all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, as well as us. Because our responsibility as Ongohome people is to act and make decisions in relation to all of that for 7 generations. So what I do and how I am today has an impact from 7 generations from now, right? So that's how, as Ongohome people, we carry ourselves. That I have an impact on what I do today for 7 generations. I would love to have the luxury to think it's just me. I can just whatever and not suffer consequences or not carry a burden or just do whatever I want from one next month to the year to the next. I don't. If I don't want to buy into the genocide policies of the Crown. Right? So, thank you.